All right, what's going on, YouTube? Um, just out here again making another live video. It is now Friday. It is Friday, 2:50 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just at work, walking around, doing my rounds, and I just wanted to talk about um, I want to talk about my difference of opinion when it comes to this idea of energy and a person's actual actions. um there's a lot of things about spirituality in general that I kind of don't really vibe with anymore, pun intended. A lot of people in the spiritual community, they talk a lot about energy, and I feel like a lot of people that consider themselves to be spiritual, or that call themselves or label themselves spiritual, they talk a lot about you know energy and your vibe, or your vibration. What they basically are trying to say is, if you have good energy, you feel like a good person to be around. If you have bad energy, you feel bad to be around. I agree with that to a certain extent, and then to a certain extent I don't. Because I feel like that can be kind of twisted and distorted and turned into something else. But I believe that sometimes it can be true, like a lot of other things that I've talked about on this channel. Just because something sometimes can be true, that doesn't mean that it's always true, right? So, me personally, I feel like personally, sometimes when people say that somebody's energy or their vibe is off, sometimes I feel like people can project something that they have going on and then assign the energetic frequency of a thought that they're projecting onto you, and then basically say that you make me feel this way, or your energy makes me feel this way, when really it's a thought or a feeling that they had based off of their predisposed thoughts or opinions of you, or something that they think about you, and then now they're trying to assign a thought or a feeling that they have about you, and say that, well, I feel this way about you, so that means that you are this kind of person. And I've talked about this on this channel before. A lot of people that call themselves spiritual do this kind of thing a lot. And I used to really buy into this. I used to allow this kind of in a lot of ways, I kind of feel like it's spiritual bullying, or bullying, because basically what you're doing is, you're telling somebody, or putting energy out where you want someone to feel like however they are is something wrong with them. If their energy makes you feel a certain way, then that person has to figure out, like, why does your energy make them or you feel this way, even if they didn't physically do anything wrong to you. So in my opinion, I think that very thing itself can make someone it can create a negative emotion towards someone if someone is saying something about, oh, your energy makes me feel a certain way. So, for example, if I'm walking down the street and some complete stranger, walks past me, and then I look at him, he looks at me or her, and I just think, man, I don't like their energy. I don't like their vibe. Their vibe makes me feel kind of weird. Like, it could be it could be something that I did or a way that I looked at him made him look at me a certain way, which in turn made me feel a certain way about him. And now I feel like, oh, well, he's got bad energy or bad vibes. So now I'm projecting this thought to myself of this person that I just passed in the street that I don't know. Now I feel like there's something off about this person, So now I label them a person that has bad energy. I think that a lot of people are doing this, and I just feel like so many people that call themselves spiritual walk around labeling people, with good, bad, high, low vibrations. And again, I think this is a trap because, I feel like there's many practical reasons why people can, why their energy can make somebody feel a certain way or not feel a certain way. I don't think that necessarily makes them a negative or low vibrational person. It could mean that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. Personally, I try to look at both sides of the equation. And my personal belief is we all have a dark and a light side, meaning I have traumas in me that are in my mind that, I will probably never completely heal from. I manage those experiences the best that I know how to, but will I forget them? Absolutely not. I believe that once certain things happen in your life, you are forever changed. I don't believe in any such thing as, you just completely heal and, you become this, 100% healed person forever. I don't believe that. I believe that you just learn how to deal with the effects as you go better. As you live, you learn how to just deal with it better. If you want to call that healing, you can. But this is my personal opinion. I don't think you ever truly get over, getting betrayed, getting hurt, getting stabbed in the back. You don't never get over it. You just learn how to kind of get on with life still and, not stop living. And again, if you want to call that healing, you can. But I just know that me personally, because I went through certain things that I went through in the way that I did, even when it comes to me dating, I know for a fact I will never ever completely trust a woman ever again. I don't care, how much in love we claim to be. I don't care how much, now I'm not gonna, take that out on them, but it's a level of caution that anyone I date, anyone I deal with, I will always be extremely careful and aware and conscious of any woman I entertain romantically for the rest of my life. Again, I'm not going to put that trauma on her, but just going to be very aware and very careful and very wise when it comes to any romantic interaction that I have, and I don't think that's going to ever change, and it shouldn't, because, had I been more wise in the past, I would have avoided a lot of trauma. So because I know what I know now, and I'm aware of certain types of situations, there are just some things as a man when it comes to dating that I never will do again. I mentioned this in my last video that I am very, very, very selective when it comes to dating, and anyone romantic, anyone even like get close to me. Like I'm not like stuck up, but I'm strict in a sense of, if you show me certain traits about you, it just lets me know how to move forward with that person or that individual in that interaction. So I guess certain women, like once they do certain things, I may not necessarily cut them off, but it's just certain things I know that I can't. In other words, once a woman shows me a certain thing, I automatically take her out of the category of any kind of serious potential, relationship or future. I won't say shit, but in the back of my mind, I just know, like, okay, yeah, she's not capable of anything serious. She may just be like a friend or just someone to kind of just, I don't fucking know, just be like, hey, how you doing? How's life? And that's it. It just depends. It depends on the level of connection, if we have anything in common. But most people like that, I may be like, hey, every now and then, because there's some similarities, but romantically, and I'm not type of guy where typically I have done it where I've had friends with benefits, but typically I don't really believe in sleeping around. I have had friends with benefits, but I don't really like to make that a normal thing, because I don't really believe it. I don't really believe in hookup culture. So, I've done it maybe twice or 3 times in my life with 3 different women, where maybe we were kind of friends, or like we dated and became friends and just started kind of fucking without really like dating or being committed to each other. But I just realized that wasn't really me. And, I'm a person where I like exclusivity, and for many reasons, but there's diseases out here, there's illness, there's just really bad situations you can get in once you start. And yeah, I mean, you can use protection, but still, you really just can't trust everybody. So, I have multiple reasons for it, but I don't like to practice, that type of sexual behavior, even though periodically I have in the past. But anyway, back to topic. Oh yeah. So when it comes to, energy and, how I feel around certain people, I do take that into consideration, but only to a certain extent. What I go more so by is somebody's actions. What has this person actually done or not done? What have they actually shown me as an individual? Because to me personally, actions speak louder than, words or even your energy. That's just my opinion. I believe that people can make you feel a certain way when they're around you, and then when they're not around you, their actions or their energy can be completely different. People put on masks all the time, and they'll project a certain type of energy when they're around you or in your presence. But when they're not around you, they transform into a completely different version of themselves with a whole completely different energy. So I would say don't trust a person's energy or their words. I would say trust a person's actions and their energy, or a person's actions or their energy, or both. You know, there's a lot of someone might, kind of weird or nervous. I mentioned this before as well. Sometimes I just naturally kind of have nervous energy. Not all the time, but sometimes. And sometimes that people will mistake that for, bad energy or, uncomfortable. And it's like, no, when I'm around big crowds, sometimes the energy just kind of makes me feel nervous, and then I will make people feel nervous unconsciously. So the people might say, oh, well, you got nervous energy. Okay, well, if I do, then is that a crime? That I don't always have, like, I don't know, like perfect high vibrational energy. You know what I'm saying? And it's just something that I've observed and noticed about myself, but I don't think that makes me, any less of a, spiritual person. I've just heard these phrases used a whole lot. And I used to truly believe that when people would say things like, oh, I don't like your energy's off. I used to really take that to heart and internalize that, and literally walk around feeling like something was wrong with me that I had to fix because somebody said that, my energy was this or that or that or this. And one day I kind of just snapped out of it and realized that, why should I, walk around feeling like something's wrong with me? First of all, because of something that someone said that probably doesn't even know me that well to even make certain, judgments or, statements about me, my morals as a person. Why should you even take someone's opinion of you that doesn't really even know you personally as a person? Why would you take someone's opinion or someone's thoughts or someone's perception of you and then internalize that, and then kind of go through life feeling like you have to fix something about yourself? Why would we do that? I want to just come in here and close this window. I'm gonna turn this light on too. Let me turn this on. I had to bring my heat from home, y'all, because it's getting cold. But I brought my heat from home right here, my little mini heater. And I got my laptop here. Been working on my designs. Turn this light on real quick. But yeah, clean that screen off. But yeah, like, why would you like I said, internalize somebody's opinion of you that doesn't even really know you that well. And once I really thought about that, I was like, that's a good point. A lot of these people in the past, I know for a fact that I have internalized, people's opinions of me, and actually kind of believe that, I needed to become somebody else strictly because of what somebody else said or thought about me or felt about me, and kind of became that person because, something I did or supposedly said made them look at me a certain way. And I think that once I got to the point to where, I consciously just really thought about it and was like, what? I don't agree with that, because why? Because I know me better than anybody else knows me, right? I know me better than anybody else knows me. And, now there have been times where people have said things about me, and there has been some truth to it, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes people have said something about me, people I've dated in the past, and I may have taken offense to it, but then I thought about it over time. It was like, what, they got a point. There is some truth in what they said. And I actually addressed it and, addressed it basically in my own way. But then there has been things where people have said things about me where I completely just didn't agree. And, but it made me feel internally like I needed to, like I said, I just kind of internalized it and kind of just carried that with me for like a long time. But now, recently, or, relatively recently, I've gotten to a point where, I just made the decision that, I'm not going to let somebody project something that they think in their mind about me or a version of me, and then because it makes me feel bad, actually believe that thought form of me or that version of me into being because of the emotion that's attached to that mental version of me in their mind that they're projecting onto me, which in turn will make me feel bad, which will make me probably act a certain way that will basically just confirm what they're projecting onto me. Because a lot of times that's what happens. People will do things to you to make you feel bad, which will cause a reaction into you, which will usually make you act a certain way, which will give them a confirmation. See, I knew he was like that. It was like, well, no, wait a minute here. What you did, what you said, how you treated me, what you said about me, made me feel a certain way, which as a result made me act a certain way, or made me respond a certain way, or energetically feel some type of way about what you did and what you said. And so, but I don't feel like I'm the originator of those emotions that I experience. I feel like they're a result of something that you felt or said about me, which made me feel a certain way. But you're saying, oh, see, your energy is wrong, or your energy is bad or low vibrational, and it makes me feel bad or uncomfortable. I'm like, well, you make me feel bad and uncomfortable. See, if you make me feel bad and uncomfortable, I mean, what do you expect? So anyway, a lot of people do that. And I think that it's really important that we are very conscious of what we are allowing ourselves to believe about ourselves, basically. This light is really bright. There's some mental gain this life, you know. And this is why I'm really, really careful about, you know, what I allow myself to believe about anything and everything. Um, kind of had some more thoughts, but I kind of forgot. Got my coffee here, a little QT, no liquor, just coffee. I'm not a big liquor drinker anymore. I drink mostly water and like sugarless drinks, no sugar. Um, I think men in particular. I saw a video today of a man that he is actually like a police officer or like some kind of officer, and he went through a really, really sad divorce where the woman that he was married to cheated on him, and basically got pregnant by another man that was in jail. And I think he said that she ended up kicking him out of their house, and then he basically, the kid that he thought was his, since he signed the birth certificate for it, he was legally liable for paying child support on another man's child. So there's some really diabolical, this is kind of a different topic. Man, I'm getting tired. Turn this down, this heat down. But there's some really diabolical things going on in this modern world, you know, when it comes to men. And a lot of people, you know, when men talk about this type of stuff, they'll call men bitter and, you know, angry and stuff like that. But a lot of men are going through hell. This man is living in a storage unit because he's having to pay, I think you said like $900 or $1,000 a month just in child support, and he can't even afford to pay rent now. So he's literally living in a storage unit. And the man was talking about how he was, you know, really excited to be, you know, a father for the first time, and, you know, have a kid. And, you know, he was working, he had a home, you know, he did things the right way, you know. He got married, and again, this woman basically set him up, and she lied to him and told him that the child that she was having was, I mean, it's just, man, there are some horrific stories out here, man, about just men and women. And I try not to look at this stuff too much because it can just take you to a really horrible place mentally, because I start to feel those emotions. And I actually subscribe to his channel because, you know, I'm just trying to support him. He's having a hard time. It can help him, you know, get his channel monetized. I watched his video. I subscribed, you know, heard his story and stuff like that. I think his name is Josh or something like that. But some of these stories, man, that men talk about on YouTube and on the internet, man, they are just
So I mean, these ain't these ain't just the lazy men. These are hard working men that did the right thing, and they have just been done so wrong and so dirty. It's just, this is what makes me, like I said, terrified to even get serious with a woman when I hear some of these stories. I'm not going to make this whole deal about this, but it does go along with the video. Um, it's just, man, when I hear some of these stories, man, to have a child by a woman, then to find out that that child isn't yours, then get divorced, then basically get kicked out of your own home, then have to basically pay money on a child that another man fucked your wife or your girlfriend, got her pregnant, and you're left, basically having to pay for another man's child, and that same man is getting the benefits of that is just so sadistic and diabolical on so many levels, man. And this poor guy, man, I see why. And I actually left him some encouragement, because I could just tell mentally, like, this man was just really going through it. When you hear some of the stories about some of the things that men have done, and I'm not saying by means that men should do these things, but when you hear about some of these men crashing out in the way that they have and they are, you're not hearing the whole story. He did this, and it's like, yes, you should never hurt anybody, you should never harm anybody. But in my opinion, when you do certain things that are just so horrible and wrong and trifling, I feel like you're messing with some really, really dark energy when you do certain things to people that they don't deserve. And I believe that the universe has a way of karmically making people pay for what they've done, and this is beyond human, feelings about how you think is right or wrong. But when you cause somebody a certain level of pain in their life, especially if it's something that lasts long term, I believe universally and energetically and spiritually, like, that's huge. That energy that you cause, those intense emotions, the universe is going to balance that way out, that out one way or another. Like, it's going to be some type of karmic debt that the person that caused could possibly have to pay, And so I think, and I feel like a lot of these things that, we hear about on the news, it's always presented to the public and the listener, like, like the woman is just necessarily just a victim, and this guy just, went crazy or screwball and just lost his mind. And it's like, no, like, what are y'all doing to these men? Like, what are y'all doing? Like, what level of fuckery have y'all done to make this man behave and act this way? No, don't tell me he's just jealous and he's insecure, because that's always the go-to, response to any man that, has any type of, standards or, any type of standard or, boundaries within his romantic relationship. Oh, he's being insecure, he's being controlling. It's like, no, he's being exactly what a man is supposed to be. As a man, if you see other men around your partner in an inappropriate way, like, you better say something, and if she gets mad at you for saying something or calls you controlling, get rid of her. You know what I'm saying? Let her go. Because as a man, that's just not something that you should put up with, point blank, period. But like I was saying, like, so many people, they like to, whenever you hear these stories about men crashing out, and when I say crashing out, I mean like there was a story on the news where a man basically unalived his wife. I think it was his wife, because he found out that, and I think I mentioned this in another video, nothing live. He found out that basically all of his children were not his. Now, I don't know about you, but I think he was with her for like, I want to say like 10 years, maybe. Now, me personally, I couldn't imagine being married to a woman for over 10 years, having, what, I think it was like 3 or 4 kids, and then somehow finding out that none of those kids were mine. Bro, I don't know what I would do. Can you imagine being with somebody, living an entire life with someone for like 9, 10 years, having kids, believing those kids are yours, and then one day finding out that the kids aren't yours? And, you wonder why some of these men are doing some of the things that they're doing. Like, I'm not saying that it's okay, but I'm saying that I get it, because what was done was just wrong. It's wrong. I mean, I don't care how you feel about, I don't care what your opinion is when it comes to, sexual freedom and stuff like that. But if you're with somebody and y'all both agree to be exclusive, and y'all have the understanding that, hey, I'm dealing with you and only you, and you agree to that, and then you step out on that person, not only do you step out, but you get pregnant by somebody else, that's huge. I'm a very big person on loyalty. That's a big thing for me. When I talk to somebody, this is why it's really hard for me to date, because once I see a woman do certain things, in my mind, I automatically say, I can't trust this woman. I don't care how pretty, gorgeous she is. I dealt with one woman like that, where I was very attracted to her, and she basically we had plans to go riding one day. When the day came, she just didn't call or anything. And it was her idea. I didn't call her. I blocked her. I'm like, I don't want you to have access to me, because to me, that's just, that kind of energy to me is very, very selfish. It's very inconsiderate. And if you can't do something, like if you can't, in the small things that really ain't no big deal, if you can't behave in a dignified manner in little small ways, like when it comes to the big shit where I really, gotta trust you, I already know, like, I can't take you serious. So any woman that wastes my time in any way, shape, or form, don't care. And I was very attracted to her. She was very pretty, light-skinned chick. Yes, I did want to fuck her, but I'm just like, no. Like I said in the other videos, men, we really have to get to the point, and I don't care how attractive or unattractive you consider yourself to be. I don't care how good or bad you're doing financially. To me, financial stability and wealth, it's a lifelong process. I know the internet makes it seem like, you can build wealth in 2, 3, 4 years. I mean, is it possible? Yes, but rarely ever do you gain wealth and make money to a larger amount in a short period of time. Like, the people that are really wealthy, they all tell you it's a slow game. You know, do people get lucky? Yes, but typically most wealthy men, they're younger, you know, and it's a game of patience, and over time as you build your net worth, you invest some, gain some, invest some, gain some. So you know, I don't buy into this modern idea of, you know, wealth building, and this idea that, you know, if you're not rich within like a couple of years, you know, you're somehow inadequate or lacking. That's to me, that's all um it's all just, what's the word, a fabrication. You know, it's a fabrication. And I feel like it's very unreal. Again, is it possible? Sure, but typically a lot of the OGs, a lot of the really old wealthy people, they'll tell you it don't really work like that, you know. um so again, I don't care how wealthy you are as a man, how, you know, attractive or good looking you are, your standards should still be high. I know the world tries to, you know, make us, you know, as men feel like if we're not attractive or tall as, you know, other men, that we shouldn't, you know, have these high standards. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Um, because I feel like, you know, you should have a level of respect and reverence for yourself to, again, doesn't really matter what the world and what women say about you, you still hold that same standard, you know. Um, I used to personally try to go by what people would tell me to determine the level of respect or value I would put on myself. But after living some, and then, you know, what kind of changed my perspective too was, um, why does this light seem so bright right now? I don't know, it's weird. But like I was saying though, I used to go by other people's interpretation or perception, or what, how, you know, what they would value me as, to basically how to, is basically how to determine my self-worth and my value. But, you know, in other words, I used to always feel like I had to prove something to people that, you know, I may have liked or been attracted to. You know, like I said earlier, sometimes people would say things like, I don't like your energy or something like that. But then there's certain individuals where, you know, I would basically become aware of certain things about them in whatever way I did. Because, you know, the universe has ways of revealing stuff about people, situations, people's character. The universe will reveal to you things about people that you may not have known initially. So a lot of people that I thought that I had to prove something to, come to find out, a lot of things that these people do or were doing, and I've also mentioned this in the past too, a lot of things that these people had done or were doing were what I would consider very low vibrational and negative things, you know. And I'm not talking about, you know, their energy. I'm not talking about how their energy makes me feel, which, I mean, I did kind of pick up on some of that too, but I'm going strictly off of their actions. A lot of times when people do certain things, they think that when they do things, the effects of that goes away because it was in the past. But even though the past doesn't necessarily exist, the effects of your actions still exist. So if you screwed somebody over really bad, technically that moment where it happened doesn't exist, but the effects of it still do exist. So, there's this residual residue of your actions that are left in the universe because of what you actually did. That said, hey, the fact that you did this thing, this horrible thing, and how this horrible thing affected these people, the universe stores that in its memory and it doesn't forget. And so that information is out there. Like, it didn't go anywhere. Like, it's there. It's like, this, in other words, this whole scenario is directly related to your actions. You actually did this. This is something you actually did. And we have a lot of people in this world talking about people's energy and, their vibration. And I'm just like, do me a favor. Let me know, what have you actually done? What have your actions been? What have my actions been, right? When we start going by people's actual actions instead of just their energy or how they make you feel, I believe that's way more accurate than just going by somebody's energy. For an example, I'm a person that I really don't like cheaters. I don't like people that cheat. I won't be friends with someone that cheats. I don't want to be friends of people that cheat. I take things like that very serious because to me, it shows me a lot about your character. In other words, if you type of dude that cheats on your girl, even though it's your life, even though it's your personal choice to cheat, if you would cheat on your girlfriend or your wife, you would try to fuck my bitch. If you have taken the action and you've literally cheated and you are cheating, if you do that and you don't see anything wrong with that, we can't be friends. And I'll stand on that. And I know cheating is a very normalized thing today in today's culture. I will not be friends with anybody that believes that cheating is normal or it's no big deal. Because to me, a person that cheats, you can't trust them. If you will lie to the person that you love, that supposedly means a lot to you, and betray them and stab them in the back over and over again, you would do it to me, your friend. You would do it to me, your friend. So this is why personally, I can't be around people and I can't be friends with people or friends of people, or I can't even date a woman that has friends that cheats. Because if she's around women that cheat and have no problem with cheating, that means that she's okay with that. If you're around people that cheat and you don't say, hey, I don't like what you're doing can cause someone a lot of emotional pain. Now, if y'all just have an open relationship, that's different. But if you're deceiving that person and sneaking behind their back and lying, nah. Get from around me. Take that shit somewhere else. Go with people, go be around people that believe in cheating and doing that kind of thing. Please stay away from me, you know. And that's something that I feel extremely strong. If more people started having those kinds of standards and with their friends, because a lot of people, you know, they will, you know, have homeboys and they'll know that their friend is, you know, cheating on their wife or their girlfriend, and they'll keep them around them. But it's like, again, you don't think that this man that you call your friend that is around you on a regular basis, if he would cheat on his own wife, you don't think he'll try to fuck your bitch? This is why you really gotta be really selective about who you call your friends. You know, and again, it comes down to, I go by people's actions more than things like, oh, their energy is off. Like, no, I know you just fucked that woman's husband. You get what I'm saying? If you are a type of person, and I know people can change, and you know, certain things that happened in the past, you know, but you know, first of all, a person that does something like that, if you do or don't, you know, get with them, I promise you. Sorry, my eye is kind of a little blurry. If you do or don't get with this kind of person, I promise you, it's not a loss. You know, a lot of men, or we as men sometimes, and I'm guilty of it too, we get so caught up on strictly just a woman's looks. And I'm saying these things and talking about these things because I'm getting so tired of seeing men go through a lot of the things that they go through. And again, I really believe truly that if men started just simply sticking to their standards and, you know, basically drawing a line in the sand, you know, like, this is how it is, you know. As a man, I really feel like a lot of these things, you know, would either stop happening or they would basically filter out those kinds of women because they would not want to, you know, basically get their act together. So they would just be simply just filtered out. You just don't deal with them, you know, and let them go. And the thing is, like, when they filter themselves out, they normally filter themselves out to the types of men that just want to use them for sex, that don't really want anything real with them. And a lot of them, that's what they want. They just want to be used for sex. And that's fine. You know, they want to use men for money and, you know, and that's fine. So let them go deal with that kind of guy. Let them get ran through. And I'll only deal with the women, or will only deal with the women that actually want something real, want something deep, want something, you know, lasting. You know, there's no loss. It's just filtering out the bullshit and basically allowing something real. Can't nothing fake get near me. Can't no woman that's a gold digger can get near me or get close to me, because my filtering system is not going to let you in. You know, if you that type of woman, you're not going to be able to even get close to me. You're going to either get blocked because of something you did or you said, or you just simply I won't allow you to get in my space because something you're doing or showing me in your character and your moral compass is, by your actions, by the way you're moving, is showing me that you're not someone that I trust to get close to. Emotionally, spiritually, I believe spiritual energy and ties is a very real thing. And I understand the damage that the wrong woman can do to a man spiritually and emotionally. I understand how serious that is, and not just getting involved with a woman because she's pretty, you know, she has a nice ass. And again, I'm a man, I get it, but a lot of men, I'm sorry, but we got to do better with selection, because a lot of us, like a woman's beauty. I've seen some video on YouTube where it was a psychologist where he was, and a philosopher, talking about how a woman's beauty is basically it's a weapon, or it can be a weapon that women would utilize to make men think irrationally. And a lot of men do think irrationally, and a lot of men will see a woman, and I've done it, I'm guilty of it too, and she'll have all the red flags in the world, but because she's pretty, you know, it's like you just look past all of them. And women know this. They know this. And again, they use it as a weapon to get men to be very illogical when it comes to, you know, responding to certain behaviors that they're doing that they really shouldn't be accepting, you know. And again, so many men, they fall victim to this weapon of beauty. And it's how a lot of men get got, because a lot of times, man, a woman, she'll show you who she is. But the problem is, a lot of men, they ignore it, because again, that ass is nice, them titties is, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, she got a cute face, so it'll be all right. It was like, no, someone shows you, believe them. That's one thing that has really, you know, helped me out, is when someone shows me, you know, who they are, I take note. I don't just brush it off no more. I say, okay, I see what you're showing me. I'm taking note, and thank you for showing me what type of time you want. A lot of women today are on demon time, and a lot of men just simply refuse to see it for what it is. And I think I went through that phase. I've been there before, but I think what it takes is just men getting to a point where they realize that, you know, if you're not somebody that I can feel comfortable, you know, connecting with romantically, meaning I can trust you and feel safe that you're not going to do some fuck shit to traumatize me once I get comfortable and once I let my guard down. If I can't be with you comfortably without having to worry about you doing some bullshit, then what value is what is the point of any of this? A lot of men will be with a woman and their intuition will be telling them something about her, her character. They'll be getting all these clues and hints about, you know, her moral. You know, she'll show you, like she'll show you. You know, a lot of times it's our fault as men, because a lot of times women, they don't hide who they are. You know, they're very vocal about, you know, you have to make this amount of money, you have to do this for me, you have to drive this kind of car, and it ain't nothing wrong with, you know, having nice stuff and being a man that's successful, but if the relationship is built on that first, and y'all don't have any real chemistry or connection, then no, she's not with you, she's with your resources. She's dating your resources. My God. Huh? You know, I make a lot of these videos for men, and I'm also talking to myself. I'm talking to that naive version of me that used to fall for a lot of these kind of things because I thought that I deserved it. I thought that I wasn't good enough to not have to deal with these kind of things. But now I know my standards are what they are, and they're not going to change. And no, I know I'm not being controlling. I know I'm not being possessive. I just know that if you're not a certain type of woman that at the very basic level is respectful and trustworthy and has integrity, there's nothing you can do for me. Nothing you can do for me. Until you get to that point as a man, you will be done so dirty and go through a lot. You have to get to the point to where you realize that a woman's beauty, a woman's looks, even, having pleasureful sexual experiences with her, it's nothing. It's worth nothing if she's not a person that is trustworthy and has integrity. I will keep saying that. I will keep preaching that because I truly believe that. What value is a woman to me sexually if she's giving her body to everybody on a regular basis? I've said this before too. I don't care if you're giving your body to me, if you're giving it to everybody else too. I don't care about that. In other words, I don't cherish the fact that we're sleeping together if you're sleeping with 4 or 5 other people. And again, a lot of people will have you trying to prove that you're a good person when the people that you're trying to prove that you're not a bad person, that they're shitty people themselves. Not because their energy is bad, not because they have low vibrations, because of their actual actions that they've actually done. You chose to do this thing consciously. You consciously chose to do this. So yes, I am going to judge you on, which I've never done that like that. So whenever someone tries to guilt you and say some bullshit like, oh, I don't like your energy, think about what that person has actually done versus who they're trying to project you out to be based on, their thoughts in their mind, in their feelings, in their body about you. Your thoughts about me and your feelings about me, how you feel about me, is not the same thing as who I actually am. There's a version of me in your mind right now that you created, like I created of you in my mind, that's not actually, and I've done it too. There has been women that I've absolutely been head over heels for. And so I created a mental version of them. And I projected that version of them into my reality. In the version of them that I told myself that I had a whole host of emotions, associated with that projected version of them, that person was a completely different person in this 3D world. It can go the opposite way too. I may have created a version of you where you were trustworthy, you were spiritual, you had morals, you had integrity. You were operating in your higher self. You weren't, walking around lying and scheming and, sleeping with people's partners and marriage partners and stuff like that. You weren't doing that. I didn't see that quantum version of you. I didn't even think you was even capable of something like that. But lo and behold, the actual real you was a completely different type of person. You know what I'm saying? You out here sleeping with motherfuckers' husbands and shit. Who the fuck does that? Getting pregnant by motherfuckers, a whole married man. Like, I had an idea of someone in my mind that I liked and thought was beautiful externally. But again, I stopped there like most men do and was like, damn, this person is really beautiful. They must be a good person. But lo and behold, that was just something that my mind had created that had no real basis in reality. So it goes both ways. When someone tries to project a version of you where they say, oh, like, oh, you know, your energy is weird, you make me feel like, no, what about you? What have you done in your past? Or what about your actions or inactions is triggering an alarm in my mind that's kind of subconsciously making me feel unsafe, which is making me feel a certain way about you that you project onto me as bad energy? What have you done? Like, what have your actions been? Oh, yeah, like you did that thing. Remember, you actually did that. And I'm not trying to, like, bring up everybody's past because we all have a past. And, but you got to take that into consideration, though. Like, you have to take into consideration what has this person actually done opposed to somebody just saying, oh, well, I don't like your energy. Well, I haven't done that. I would never do that. That completely goes against my moral compass. So I'm pretty sure that's way more negative than someone saying, oh, your energy is weird. Energy speaks louder than words. Like, well, yeah, actions speak louder than energy. Because you may feel a certain way about me, but if I didn't physically do that thing you feel, then it's nothing, it's no comparison. I don't care how strongly you feel about my energy. I ain't never done no shit like that, and nor will I ever. That completely goes against everything I believe in. So, and I'm speaking in a very general sense here, but the point is 100% you have to believe people's actions. I can sit here all day and say, hey, I'm going to start a t-shirt company, but if my actions ain't showing that, hey, my actions are showing it. What am I doing right now? Hold on. What am I doing? I'm actually working on this. Been trying to get this design right the past over a week now because it wasn't right. My actions are working on my business, on my design. I'm new at this. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm still working on it till I get it right. See, I'm actually physically taking the actions to do this. I'm not just talking about it. I'm at work working on my business. That's action, right? So that's just one example. So my point is, we gotta stop, believing that we need to prove anybody. And me specifically, I'm talking about myself and other men when it comes to dating. There's this really, really super high standard. All right, I'm sorry, my live kind of went out just now. I have a better connection now though. I switched to my my Wi-Fi. Yes, I bring my Wi-Fi to work because the signal out here is kind of choppy, so I use my Wi-Fi in the house. But I kind of got disconnected just now. But as I was saying though, a lot of women today have super high standards when it comes to dating, and are requiring men to like make these ridiculous amounts of money, and it's nothing wrong of liking what you like and wanting to live a certain type of lifestyle, but then you listen to what a lot of these women are saying, and then you look at the men that they've actually chosen to have children by. None of these women are with. But I'm supposed to come in here as this man, this single man that doesn't have children, and do all these things for someone that I don't even know if their character is even worth me doing these things for. It's like you expect me to go out my way to prove myself to you with gifts and trips and the soft girl life, when I don't even know if you're worth any of this. I don't know who you are as an individual, right? I talk about these kind of topics a lot, not because I hate women, not because I want to control women, not because I'm possessive, even though a lot of people probably think that. Am I bitter about some of my experiences dating? Yes, somewhat. Am I angry? Sometimes still, yes. When I think about certain things, when I see certain things that men go through, yes, I am angry. But I do not hate women. I cannot hate women because women are another side of what it means to be human. So I cannot just hate women. I hate some of the things that they do. As I said before, and I'll keep saying, I don't hate women. Men don't hate women. I think right now we're just in this day and age where women have kind of gone off the deep end, so to speak, and a lot of their actions are just not trustworthy, and a lot of men just don't trust women. It has nothing to do with men hating women or wanting women to suffer. There's a lot of men kind of coming down on women today because of this whole food stamp thing. And to me, this is just another way that karma is kind of coming back in a way to kind of giving back what was kind of done to some men. A lot of women kind of, in a way, married the government. A lot of women kind of ditch their partner or their husband for the government to take care of them. A lot of women, started to kind of disrespect men and brag and boast, oh, we don't need men because, they either got some really, really, high paying career, or, they got, housing and food through the government. But as we're seeing right now, a lot of these programs are being cut, at least temporarily. We don't know for how long, but they're being cut. A lot of women are nervous about not being able to, get food for themselves and their children. You know, now me personally, I don't wish to see any children not be able to eat. I don't want to see any children or any kids or babies, suffer because, of their mother's choice, because she decided she wanted to, be free. And so she didn't need her man or her husband. A lot of women initiate divorces because they feel like they don't want to have to, have a man to, answer to or be accountable to. But men are accountable to women too. It goes both ways. But it just seems like nowadays women have been convinced that, I'd rather not have a partner or a husband because I'd rather like to have the freedom to, sleep with whoever I want, whenever I want. So rather than have this man in the house to help provide everything, I'd rather just let the government take care of me, provide housing or provide a certain percentage of housing and food stamps, and I don't really need a man. A lot of women traded their spouse, their husband, their boyfriend, their child's father for, more freedom. And, they became very, very boastful and happy about that. And a lot of families and homes were broken up, in the name of, I want my freedom. So, but again, that's what they asked for. A lot of men, if they were still in these, households and in these families, had they not been divorced or left for somebody else, most men, there are some deadbeats out there, but most men, rather, the government had food stamps or not, most honest men, I don't care if the government food stamps got cut off or not. That man is not going to let his wife and children or girlfriend, fiance, whatever the fuck, go without food. A man, when he knows he has, and I don't care what nobody, I don't care what no one says, when a man knows he has a solid partner in relationship, I would say 85 to 90% of men are going to do whatever it takes to make sure that that family and his girlfriend or wife, whatever, has at the very least, the basic necessities of life, while still grinding to improve that quality of life. Just the fact that a man knows what he has, I know I got a good woman, that gives him energy when he's tired to, go harder to kind of push to kind of make stuff happen. Even when physically and spiritually he doesn't really feel like he has anything left, the fact that he knows his woman, his girlfriend is, relying on him, he's gonna make it happen. I don't care if he has to move hell itself. He's gonna make it happen somehow, some way. I don't care if that man has to work 24 hours straight for a time period for a time. He's gonna do it. That's just how men are. When they know, in other words, when a man knows he has a good woman and a family, when I say a good woman, I mean he trusts her. He knows that she's solid. She's not on no fuck shit. She's not playing games. She's not out here entertaining other men. I'm telling you, that man is going to make miraculous things happen. It's a power. This is what women forgot. There's a real power in just simply being a solid ass female. Women forgot that. this whole new female era thing, this dark feminine era where women are like kind of for everybody and nobody. Men, there's no power in it. There's no real spark and magic in that. There's no power in that. A strong connection, spiritual connection with a man. Oh man, that man is going to make some shit happen in y'all's life, And this is what women they fail to realize. They want a man to be all these things, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to like, y'all ain't shit. Y'all ain't shit. And most men know that. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. And there's no nice way to say it. Call me bitter, call me angry, call me insecure, whatever you want to call me. It doesn't change the fact that, when men have good women, amazing things happen. Now, men can still do amazing things for themselves, but it's not in the same way. It's not in the same energy. But yes, men still do amazing things on their own as well, but it's a whole different way. It happens way different when he's doing it with a woman. He can still do it, and he will still do it, but it's a different dynamic though. It's a certain magic, in my opinion. It's a certain power that a man gets simply by having a solid woman in his corner. And this is what women have forgotten. Women expect men to do all these amazing things for them and, give them this soft life. But in that man's eyes, it's like, why would I do that? You haven't given me any reason to trust you to that extent or believe that she would actually even treat me halfway decent. You have not given me any reason to believe that. Why would I do all these things and, go through all this stuff for somebody that's over here one day and over here next day? You have not given me any reason. Serious. Not one. Not one reason. Give me a reason. I can't get one reason. So, I don't know what these women of today are really expecting. I don't really know. But either way, I made a post the other day saying how, I'm not on nobody's timeline. I am naturally and organically expanding, evolving at my own rate. I don't feel no rush to, reach any finish point in my life. I'll get there when I get there. Now, yes, if I had somebody in my life, I might be motivated to, really, really go harder to the extent of, potentially, basically exerting myself to my very, limit. But I don't see any point in doing that when I simply don't have to. I'm not in a rush to get to anywhere in life right now. I'm not motivated to rush to get to anywhere, any, finishing point. Honestly, I don't really care. I am moving forward. I am making progress. But I'm not in any real rush to get to any goal, to get to any destination. I'm just not. It's like, for what? I don't have to do that. You know, now, again, if there was somebody that I was dealing with that through their character and through their who they are as a person had made me feel like they're worth me pushing myself to that extent energetically to reach a certain goal, would I do it? Oh yeah, like I said, a man will move heaven and earth for the right woman. But if that man isn't doing that, only one conclusion. He just came to the conclusion that you just simply aren't worth it. You have not shown or demonstrated to him that you're worth him going that hard for. It's really that simple. And I don't have to go that hard. Again, I'm still moving forward, but I'm not trying to push myself. Like, I'm already working 2 jobs. You know, I don't have any kids. I don't have to exert myself. I don't have a lot of bills. I don't really have to exert myself. I work an extremely easy job. I'm chilling. I'm making a YouTube video right now. I don't have to make a lot of money. Over time, I can save my money and invest, and eventually, in time, it'll compound and grow, and I'll reinvest it. And that's coming too. But in other words, I'm not in a real rush to, I don't have a reason to. A lot of people are just rushing to, reach some level of success because the world makes them feel like if they don't get rich in 2 years, they're nobody. I don't really want to be considered somebody. Not in the way that most people do. Because you're chasing something that's not even real. It's not real. It's all based on what you have achieved and what you have gotten. Those same people that will gravitate towards you when you get that car, that bigger house, it's like they wasn't there when you didn't have those things. So for that reason, not saying that I only want to get them for that, but it's like if you weren't here before I got these things, you being there, you're not really there. You're just there for the resources. You're not there for me. So when I really like level up, which I know I will in time, nobody is going to know. Like, I could be a billionaire and nobody is going to know. Yeah, I'll probably get a little bit nicer car, but I don't want to attract a woman because of what I have. Now, I might buy my toy and, go out and have fun, but I'm not going to be flexing what I have, earned and be riding around all the time and using that to attract women. Again, I'm going to have a regular ass car, might be a fucking Honda Civic. Nothing flashy. Now, will I have a nicer car? Maybe. But you're not going to really see me in it like that. I'm going to be driving a regular ass car like everybody else. I promise you. I promise you. And it's not to say that I don't like nice things and live comfortably, but when I get my bag the way I want it to be, nobody's going to know. If nothing, the way you see me now will basically be, I might get a few more nice outfits and, sets, but it's not going to be this big display like, oh, you're rich now, you better get a Ferrari, and like, you better get a yacht. It's like, no. For what? Just to attract people to use me? Just to attract the wrong kind of women? Oh shit. My battery's going dead. Fuck. So yeah, yeah, man. I just hope that a lot of men really think about. Because a lot of men, they're striving to reach a certain level of success. And don't get me wrong, women, they can be a very, what they call they can be used as what they call it's a word for it. A muse. Women can be used as an inspiration for men to better themselves, But, and I used to kind of believe in that, but I kind of feel like men that use women as a muse for success, to get the money, the bag, the house, the car, they're chasing an idea of a woman. Because a lot of times, we as men, we believe that once we get that money and that house, that nicer car, whatever, bigger house, the mansion, we think that we're going to get that woman's loyalty. And no, you're not. You're not. One of the biggest misconceptions is, once you become successful as a man, you're going to attract a loyal woman. It's like, no. No, you're not. You're going to attract a woman that wants to receive the benefits of your hard work and your resources. And, you might get a little pussy out of it. But if that woman wasn't fucking with you like that before you got to where you're at, then she's not really fucking with you like that after. And I think that a lot of men kind of fall for this trap of, once I get the money and, blah, 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 I'm going to get this woman's loyalty. And I'm sorry to say it, you're chasing a mental idea, or the idea of a version of a woman that's going to give you loyalty because of what you achieved. And I'm telling you right now, you're going to be sadly disappointed. I used to believe that, but after seeing stories of lots of women leaving men that have paid for everything, men that look way better than me, no diddy, pause, men that are financially stable, men that damn near worship the ground that these women walked on, treated them like princesses and queens, gave them the soft life, the feather life, the godly life, basically gave them everything they could ever want. And these women still found a reason to want to get a divorce, want to leave, want to take the kids, and want to just say one day, hey, I'm done. I want to be single. I want some new dick, whatever. It was a reason that these men did all these things, and they still, it wasn't good enough. I'm talking about there's men that are way more attractive than me. No homo. Pause. That are successful, hardworking, providers, protectors, everything you could ever want in a man. And these types of men are still getting divorced and left. I shit you not. So, seeing stories like that, and then not only are they getting left, but everything that they worked for a lot of times is being taken. It's taken in court. And again, I'm not saying these things to make men hate women, but we as men have got to become more wise and more
You know, we got to stop falling for this type of shit because men's lives are getting ruined. I'm not saying don't be in love. I'm not saying don't date, but I'm just saying be very careful with, especially women of today. A lot of women of today are on demon time. They're on demon time. They're heartless and they don't care. You know, they don't care. That's my message, y'all. That's my message of I go by people's actions more than their energy. I believe that people's actions can actually matter more than their energy, especially if they've shown you through their actions who they are. You know, don't let somebody tell you that you're a better or worse person because of your energy and how your energy speaks louder than words. It's like, no, your actions speak louder than your words. Your actions speak louder than your energy. Because why? Because your energy can be one way when you're in front of me or around me. And when you're different, your energy can be completely different. You can't even trust somebody's energy. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Y'all take care. Take care of yourself. Till next time.